Okay, turning to our book. We're going to go through chapter 1 and look at things that give us an indication about the setting. So obviously, our first indication is right here. An orphanage in the mountains. So this goes to setting. So I'd highlight that. I'm right next to it. So our first indication, this is taking place in an orphanage. So he doesn't have a mum and dad because orphanages are places for kids without parents. And it's in the mountains. So you'd be thinking it's kind of remote right now. As we move on, we find out that there is a nun that serves. Okay, so immediately this makes us think that it's a religious. It's a religious orphanage. So the nun serving a very hot soup is an indication that it's a religious orphanage. The idea that he's praying here to God and Jesus and the Virgin Mary. And if we turn the page to page 3, that the Catholic head office in Warsaw. Okay, this also indicates an idea that it's a religious, so it's Catholic is the religious. And it's in Warsaw. Okay, so this gives us a very good idea that it's from Poland. So we see so far that it's an orphanage, it's remote in the mountains, it's also Catholic, and the Catholic head office is in Warsaw. So more than likely, we're in Poland right now. As we go back, we see another clue that gives us an idea of setting, and this is in this prayer. It's a very strange prayer, and we're going to come back to this prayer later. But we have Adolf Hitler. So praying to Hitler is a very strange thing, and we'll talk about that later. But what it does tell us is Hitler was the head of the Nazi Party in Germany in World War II. So we're now placing this in a temporal location. It's not only a physical, geographic location, the orphanage is remote, it has a religious bent, and it's more than likely in Poland. But it's also during World War II, which is 1939 to 1945. So we're looking at a time frame as well by mention of Adolf Hitler's name. So we can see by looking at some of these clues that we have a reasonable amount of information that's given to us in this first chapter of the setting of this book. Now, in page 2, which may be page 3 for me, we have 1942. And we need to highlight this because this tells us very clearly a time frame. So we now have a time frame and we can write that next to 1942. We know it's happening in an orphanage, a religious orphanage. We know it's probably happening in Poland. We know that it's during World War II, and specifically, we know the time is 1942. So you need to annotate those things in regards to setting in your book.
ששרת לי פעם שיר ארץ ומתנגן בלב